Well, significantly, the Premier and a number of politicians, all politicians in actual fact from the Hunter, have decided to boycott this event. Today is a demonstration against greed in actual fact. There is no reason for the company to be taking the position that they have. You've got a very, very productive and efficient port. You've got a very, very productive and efficient workforce. They've been ignored. We need to get them back to the table. They need to speak to the trade union movement in a sensible and appropriate way and get a collective agreement.
Union workers built all this, built all of it, the second and first coal loaders, without one day of industrial action. Newcastle Port is recognised as one of the most productive and efficient ports in the world. They look to us, how do you do it? And so, well, this is how you do it. And I tell you what they do say in those negotiations and discussions that take place, and we've got a cooperative relationship with the trade union movement. Well, they can't say that this time. They can't say this time, but they will say it in the future, because we will. We will stand up, we'll continue, I've got no doubt, to encompass and harness all that community feeling out there to the point whereby the boss cannot continue to ignore it. I'll sit down and do a collective agreement with us.
Look, I think the company is not a question of backing down, it's a question of they're controlled by the big Australian, BHP, that's the majority shareholder. You know, big Australian means somebody that turns around and actually has an Australian attitude. They community first, community standing together, and turning around and consulting with the community appropriately and properly. And the representatives of these employees and the representatives of this industry are the unions involved, and it's appropriate they talk to their workforce through the representatives, not just go off and rip this community off in Newcastle by hundreds of dollars on employees' wages whilst ripping out billions of dollars out of the ground.
Well, who are NCIG? A number of coal companies controlled by BHP as a major shareholder. The wages here are 17% less than the coal loader just across the way. Shame. The wages here regards annual leave loading is 25% less. The allowances are thousands of dollars less. Because when less money is paid in this community, it means the community is under attack. When people are earning billions of dollars from the Hunter Valley and through exports through this port, they have a responsibility to share it. I thought about being a big Australian was about standing by your fellow man and woman. I always thought it was about standing by your community. All we're seeing with BHP, its control of NCIG, is ideology. Less wages, less for the community, and less safety along the supply chain.
Well, we worked for this. The whole of the community of the Hunter, including the union movement, worked to set this up. We encouraged the state government to get behind it. We encouraged the business to have them come here and set up this facility, state of the art, over $3 billion in exports. You know, this is supposed to be a shot in the arm for the Hunter region after all of the bad news in the last few years. So what do? They get on the back of the WorkChoices legislation, like thieves in the night, squirrel in a non-union agreement, take absolute opportunity to exploit the workers in this area. 21 workers signed up on a non-union agreement. I mean, those guys didn't have a choice. We're here to support them, and we're here to send a clear message to Peabody, BHP, some of the biggest mining companies in the world. It's not good enough. If you come to this area, you've got to pay the going rate and you've got to treat your workers with respect. And we're not going away till they do.
I mean, when you think about all of those tremendous struggles over WorkChoices and against the Howard government with Patrick's, all of those things that are being referred to, do you think we'd see that again? Coppers outside a non-union operation? Did we ever think that we would see that again? When we changed the government to take this bullshit away from our communities and our workplaces. So who's brought it back? BHP has brought it back. BHP that sat the other side of that river for so many generations like a big tick, drawing out all the blood and the resources of the Hunter community. And what was the reward? They shut down the steelworks. What did they replace it with? Nothing whatsoever. What have they done with the community since then? To pay them back for all of the hard toil, all of the deaths, all of the injury, all of the pollution to the community. How have they paid them back? Well, they've given us NCIG as their gift.
Australians decided in the last election that they wanted fair work laws. They voted that way. They got rid of a government that was exploiting labour, exploiting working men and women and their families. So what do these people do? They squirreled in through that last little window of opportunity and signed up a non-union agreement. And these workers are expected to work as productively, as they possibly can, but they haven't got a right to negotiate. They haven't got a right to have any say over their wages and conditions. They haven't got a right to say anything about their superannuation, their long service leave, their annual leave. I mean, it's a disgrace. These people are from another century, not us. All we want is a fair go. All these workers in here want is a fair go. All Australians want is a fair go, and these people aren't giving it to us, and it is a disgrace. BHP, you're disgraceful. Peabody, you're disgraceful. Come into the real world and treat workers with the respect they deserve.
We went to the last election to get a choice, not a friggin' work choice, a real choice. A choice to find our voice. A choice to be able to stand up against the power of BHP or Rio or any boss, Fitz's, it doesn't matter, any boss at all. And to sit there with decency and respect. How do you get that? You get that by sticking together. You get that by being in a union. We don't bugger off. We're not buggering off. We're not buggering off like you buggered off BHP over the road and abandoned this community and came back and started exploiting it again. We're not buggering off. We're not going anywhere. We're going to stay in this community like we've been here for the last 200 years. We're going to build it. We're going to make it real. We're going to make it fair. And we're going to make it union. Or otherwise, you can bloody well bugger off, the whole lot of yous. Would really like to finish on this. Robert Coombs came down. He came down. If we're going to change the world, we've got to change the politicians, and we've got to change the party that's going to represent us, and we've got to find our voice too. More power to you, Robert, and more power to the government that's here in the state now.